And let's get to our guest. We're joined by Professor Joseph M. Chalil, Global Affairs expert and former chairman of the Indo-American Press Club. Thank you so much for joining us on CNN News
Thank you
18.
for having me.
I'll give it to Donald Trump. You know, he knows how to put on a show, and especially when it comes to revving up the Republican base, he is a master at it. Do you think it's a done deal that he is the one to secure the Republican ticket?
Again, good evening. For people who have been involved with this campaign, I've been in U.S. Presidential politics involvement for the past 23 years or so, starting with Senator McCain, and went through multiple election campaigns. And this is something which I have never seen it before. And I would never write off Trump. Let me be honest. He's one candidate who is pretty stable, very popular. I was told last week there was a campaign event Trump held in a small town in north of here. I'm from Florida, and there's town's population was 3,000. His campaign attracted over 20,000 people. So this is never heard. At the same time, Governor Ron DeSantis, who's the governor of Florida and a friend of mine, couldn't bring in that bigger crowd. But again, it's not a sure shot guarantee that he will be the presidential candidate against Biden. There are a few dark horses. You could see, one of our own, Indian Vivek Ramaswamy. He's been coming up in the polls as third to Trump, DeSantis, even ahead of Nikki Haley. Sometimes we also seen about a few others who are coming up. So again, even though it's not a done deal, from what I see, it looks like it is for Trump's to take, unless some legal issues prevented him or something happened which can prevent him from, which I don't foresee which could happen.
Right, but it's all about the primaries at the end of the day, Joseph. Trump has those numbers in his favor that if it comes to the Republican primaries, he is set to sweep all of them. And in fact, Ron DeSantis is not expanding beyond Florida. Let's take a look at some of the things that Trump has talked about. And, he talks about drain the swamp. But ever since 2016, you saw like everyone around him was getting convicted and found guilty of so many different crimes. And then he was pardoning them. He was the one who filled the swamp up at the end of the day around himself, and that is some credibility issue that he faces. Within the Republican Party, in your opinion, the moderate Republicans are still a significant chunk. Do you think that if Trump hits the ticket once again, if he gets the Republican ticket, those moderate Republicans could end up voting for Joe Biden in a face-off between Biden and Trump?
Again, I don't think Trump is a favorite of most of the Republican Party, especially the moderate, as you mentioned. The Bush Republicans or the McCain Republicans, or the people who work with the Romneys and the people like that. But again, if Trump becomes a nominee, it depends on the other option. Unfortunately for Biden, his poll numbers are even worse than what Trump's are. Even comes in, and his performance, with age which coming in, economy as it is, the price which is going up, interest rates in US, the inflation which is going up, the war in Ukraine, as you've been talking about a few minutes ago. They all think it is Biden's fault. So I'm not sure there is a democratic alternative for the moderate Republicans to vote, even though Trump as a person might be convicted or might be indicted in 80 counts and multiple counts. Again, some of them people think it was unfair. Like, for example, all this classified documents scandal which has been happening. Most of other presidential former presidents or former vice president, including President Biden, had the same issue, and they haven't been prosecuted. So we see some sort of a vindictive or selective prosecution happening in this case, where some of those smaller issues, none of them is all about Trump getting bribed in billions of dollars from somewhere else. It is all about technical issues or paying off some people for whatever, keeping their mouth shut. Again, I'm not saying Trump is a clean person. I wasn't a Trump supporter, but if Trump is a nominee of the party, I would say most of the business people, most of the Republicans, whether moderate or conservative, will end up voting for him, because the alternative is another 5 more years of Biden administration, which might be bad for the American economy and also for the world, as people see it here. Because as somebody said, Biden could have prevented the Ukraine-Russia war, and he did not. That's unfortunately that people are dying because of it. Now it's a year later.
But
we still trying to stop it.
Right, but Joseph, I'm just looking at Trump's track record even after winning the 2016 presidential election. And let's face it, he beat Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton thought that it was going to be a walkover, but she underestimated Trump and he won that presidential election. Even though you have the voodoo of the Electoral College that tends to help the Republican Party in some cases, it was a fair and square. She lost. But after that, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that is exactly true. No one believed, even as I said, I was a supporter of Jeb Bush, who was running against Trump. At that time, and then nobody believed. We thought, hey, Jeb Bush is a smarter candidate, a brother of a former president, son of another former president, could be a shoo-in in the primaries. But Trump beat him, left and right. And then, again, he became the nominee and the economy boomed under his watch. Again, his personal policies, his past, he's a master marketer. He can attract attention, no matter what. And he believes any attention is good news or good attention for him, because whether it is bad attention or good attention, even with all these 79 or 80 indictments he has been, his popularity has been gaining. That's just unheard of. If he's that big a criminal, people shouldn't have been supporting him. But his campaign numbers are growing. His war chest in donations are increasing. So I believe he beat his Q1 numbers by double in the Q2 fundraising number, I believe, which are coming out in the next 2 weeks, I believe. And I've also told that one of our Indians own, Vivek Ramaswamy, he's now coming up to be second in campaign funds, whether it is his own funds or raising money. Right. So there's a lot more to see. And imagine a combination between either Trump and Ramaswamy, or Trump and Tim Scott. That could be a force to reckon with. Yeah,
but at the end of the day, Joseph, he will destroy Ramaswamy in the primaries when it comes to clinching that Republican ticket. At the end of the day, he will destroy Ramaswamy in that. But I want to ask you about this. Let's look at the track record of Donald Trump. He won 2016, great. When it came to the midterm elections, he failed to retain control of the House. When it came to the Senate elections, he lost those 2 crucial Senate seats in Georgia to the Republicans. He lost to Joe Biden, where even Arizona flipped against the Republicans. When it comes to holding on to the clout that he has gained in the Republican Party, from an electoral standpoint, he is a loser. But at the same time, that inflection point within the Republicans that we need a sensible guy at the helm, that is not coming, because the MAGA base is still strong. There's no one to challenge him within the Republican Party. And at the same time, you have the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, the Lauren Boeberts, the Matt Gaetz, who have become the loudest voices of the Republican Party because of Donald Trump. That is a real conundrum for the Republicans.
Very true. It's most of the Republicans are confused or conflicted. The fight, as you mentioned, will be happening between, or it's already been happening between Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump. Again, I've known Governor DeSantis now for over 12 years. Even before he was planning to run for governor. And, I remember talking to him, hey, we were begging for Trump to endorse Ron DeSantis, for a governorship or to a primary, as a Republican governor's candidate. And we didn't have any support until Donald Trump supported or tweeted supporting Ron DeSantis for the Florida governorship. So Trump, feels as if he's being not thankful enough for his support. So I think most of the fighting might be happening between, and that's the only person in this campaign. I mean, there are 5 or 6 people in this Republican primary race. Ron DeSantis has been the only one who has been declining in polls, along with Nikki Haley. So that is yet to see. But again, we have now the debates are coming up. There's 3 debates coming in pretty soon. I believe there's only 4 candidates who qualified, because you have to have 60,000 or so unique donors to qualify for these debates. And I know Ron DeSantis qualified for it. Trump had qualified for it. I believe Nikki Haley, and then it is Vivek Ramaswamy. Only 4 of them have only qualified for the 3 debates coming up. And the debate's going to be very interesting. Trump, you cannot underestimate him on the debate. And so is Vivek. Governor DeSantis, again, let's see how that works out. I believe there might be beating up on Governor DeSantis during the debates, and that could be an interesting, entertaining battle to see between
because the most interesting thing would be which one of the contenders would actually train their guns at Donald Trump, because so far they've been very sheepish when it comes to taking on Donald Trump and angering the MAGA base. Thank you, Joseph Chalil, for joining us on CNN News 18 and sharing your perspective on the role